Plug in what?
What?
Plug in what?
The pulse roll thing.
Yeah, right. No.
I've got this spot on the edge of my leg here, which was for absorbing low kicks, and it's just it's rock hard. It's like a piece. It's like it feels like a link of chain that someone's
Part
twisted.
of me thinks it's rock hard for a reason, though. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're not a normal human being.
It's bloody uncomfortable though. Sometimes I tell you that.
How nice is rolling out your IT button?
Oh, it's horrible.
So good.
It's horrible. I hope these mics work. Hello, everybody. We're
New mics.
Well, old mics. Is that
Back to the
against
Future.
the table? I feel like
No.
I'm going to get in trouble somehow for this.
No,
Let me see. Well,
We seem to have more room than usual.
yeah, weird, isn't it? Especially considering I got a new shelf put in. Check this out. We've got a toy shelf now. I got to show you this as well. Look at Yoga Frog. Look at that.
Beautiful.
Isn't he wicked?
We see that.
I bought him the other day, and Veronica built him, and then realised that she could put his legs in that position instead of like a normal frog position, like bent underneath. You can be doing this like
pose, yoga
mysterious
frog.
like planche position. Maybe that's what I'll call him. I'll call him Planche the Frog. Yeah, man. I got Wolverine. I got a couple of Boba Fett's in there. I got some
Heavily protected today.
Right, yeah.
Serious experience over this side.
Right. I think Owen's coming over later this week. I think he's going to bring some of his old wrestling figures with him. I think he's got like Legion of Doom and the Bushwhackers. I don't know where mine are.
I was going to say Macho Man Randy Savage, you better be in there. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was brilliant, wasn't he? Remember Superfly Jimmy Snooker?
Yeah.
He was good as well. Go on. Name a wrestler.
British Bulldog.
British
Bulldog.
Bulldog.
Did you
Yeah.
have a-
Davey Boy Smith.
Davey Boy Smith, there you go. Wicked.
Yeah.
Strange. Yeah.
Good back in, I don't know where. That was an Owen tangent. Like, you jumped into
Yeah,
the room.
right.
You possessed me for a second.
There we go. Yeah. Review and preview. You can have a go. While you're sorting yourself out, we are sponsored once again by XBRAIN, but we have a little sweetener for you. So XBRAIN, as you know, and as we have mentioned, are the sole distributors of the great Onyx products that are obviously manufactured in the US. And we've used Onyx for years, haven't we?
Years.
And they've supported us for years and years. Like over a decade, I would say.
Good company.
Great company. Love what they're about. Genuinely can get behind their supplements and promoting their supplements. And XBRAIN have got you covered in the UK. So if you want to save yourself some shipping time and shipping expense, then jump onto xbrain.co.uk. And if you drop in full reptile at the checkout, you will get a 10% discount.
That's good. I've started using this XBRAIN CBD oil. Makes life a lot easier. I was blending it into my coffee, but then I have to get electrical equipment out in the morning, and I'm just not awake enough for a hand blender in my coffee at that time in the morning.
Wow.
I've crossed over to that for a little while. Okay.
Sorry, one more thing to mention.
Hang on a minute.
We're open.
Hardy
WALLHEAD
We're
is
open.
back open. The restrictions have somewhat eased. We're not at all guns blazing just yet, but we are back open. If you're in and around the Midlands area.
Jimmy's all guns blazing.
Yeah,
This
always.
is my paranoia.
Always.
Check we're recording.
If you're around the Midlands area and you would like a very unique spot to come and learn something new, something very, very effective, and something coached only in the way that one person could coach you.
Explain unique to me.
Well, there's just no one like him, is there?
There is no one like him.
And I tell you what, I've been away from Jimmy for a long time, and I've come back, and his coaching system is exceptional.
Yeah, he's good.
It's really, really exceptional. So if you're around, come join us. It's a great gym. You'll love it. It's, from beginners all the way through to elite level, everyone is welcome. And we're growing. We're growing.
That looks crooked again to me, doesn't it?
That's you. That's your job.
I don't like these Raptor jobs. I'm not cut out for Raptor jobs.
Where are they?
They're coming back soon, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've been at Bellator. Well, should we start there?
Yeah.
You didn't catch it, did you, mate?
didn't
Honestly,
catch it, no.
Well, the thing is, I looked
three
at this
kids thing keeps getting in the way.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't even begin to imagine. Kids look after themselves, don't they?
Well, I don't ask my wife because
As soon as they can work a tin opener, you just leave them to it, right? I literally the first time I looked at this card was this morning, and the reason for that is because I've been into the Masvidal Usman stuff, so I'm a bit all over the place. But I did watch the fights at the weekend, and I did watch the Bellator card, and there were some great scraps.
Nice.
Bader looks really impressive. I'm just so interested to see how this tournament plays out, this Grand Prix, because the interesting thing for Bader is that he's got three people in the tournament that already have a win over him.
Yeah.
He's gotten through one with Bader, but that's arguably with Machida.
Machida, yeah.
Arguably, that's the easiest one psychologically to get over because Machida's much older, Bader's much more mature, much more confident. The one that's going to be really difficult is going to be Rumble Johnson. Because like Nemkov, like he's felt him recently and he'll know ways in which he could have improved himself in that fight. And he said in an interview that he felt very flat. So I think psychologically, if Nemkov gets through Phil Davis, that one shouldn't be as bad. Rumble Johnson, especially if he annihilates Yoel Romero. Can you imagine that?
That's not
Rumble Johnson against Yoel Romero.
You wouldn't want to watch it almost, would you? You'd be like, oh, just get us in there. Get us in there.
But like
he was in good shape, Bader, wasn't he?
Good shape.
Like really good shape.
Yeah.
How old is he?
Scary build. He's like 37.
Late 30s, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
it's a good age. It's a good age. I should start training.
Yeah, right. I've started.
I trained yesterday, actually. I did a good kettlebell circuit yesterday. I'm just like heavy at the moment. I'm doing loads of like power hitting on the bag and power lifting.
They've noticed.
Aren't they?
People, yeah, I know.
Wait, I get so many.
How bloody rude.
How bloody rude. I get so many mean comments about various different. I don't give a fuck, honestly. If you're gonna comment about someone's weight or haircut, then whatever. Well, I'm a healthy 200 pounds right now, full of delicious food. I had apers for breakfast and brownies for dessert. I'm all good.
Love it.
But I still am training.
Yeah.
I'm just slower and heavier. Kind of like I was when I was fighting in the UFC.
Nah,
slow and heavy.
You're in shape, mate. You had one of the best coaching you then. You're in shape.
Just plug that in. Oh, by the way, Hardy WALLHEAD's open and Dan Hardy's not there much, but Ollie Richardson's there. Richardson and WALLHEAD's back open.
You're coming back up. I've changed the name, by the way. I've just scrubbed your name off.
You're just written yours in.
Yeah, fair enough. It's very long now, Richardson and WALLHEAD. It's like go around the whole circle.
Yeah, don't ask Jimmy to write that out because that's not going to happen.
Hieroglyphics.
Kasangany looked great. Armbar in the first round.
Oh, right. I thought you meant at weigh-ins.
Sorry, I'm jumping all over the
for a second. Then
I told you,
that got so much heat on our channel.
What did?
The video of her at weigh-ins in that one piece.
Of course it did.
One piece swimsuit.
Of course it did.
We're simple animals, aren't we?
Basic.
We're just simple, basic animals.
Basic.
We've got like 5 times the views of anything else from the weigh-ins.
I know. I was watching it because it went up around the same time as the One FC one on TNT Aftermath.
Yeah.
And I was watching it, and at one point they were like competitive on numbers, and I'm like, "Come on,
really?
Come on. Martial arts technique and philosophy over
one piece bathing
ass
suit."
cheeks." He's like, "Come on, don't do the right thing, everybody." And then all of a sudden, it was just a landslide in orange bikini direction, orange
contest,
swimsuit direction.
You can't compete against nature, can you?
Staying out of it.
You just can't.
I'm staying out of it. But yeah, it was a good event. But this Grand Prix has got my attention.
I like the format, Grand Prix format. It's a little bit lost in it. I like that. The story that's sort of playing on over months, isn't it? It's pretty cool.
Well, because you see the path that they're trying to walk. They're all trying to walk the same path. And what I didn't realise is they've got another belt as well. They've got a Grand Prix belt as well as the light heavyweight belt. Because Nemkov's the champion. But obviously, if he gets through to the final, he can lose his belt in the Grand Prix.
Okay.
Or he can win the Grand Prix belt as well. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. I like it.
I like it.
Anything else? Anyone else stand out?
I mean, Liz Carmouche had a good solid unanimous decision performance. There was one really cool choke on the prelims, which I suggest anybody goes to watch if they're a grappling or jiu-jitsu fan. It was Jalen Bates against Jeffrey Gosner. And it was it's written down here as a modified guillotine choke. It was almost like a one arm. It was the weirdest thing, but he used his head position and his weight, his body position to apply the choke. It was really cool, really interesting.
From front headlock.
So his opponent was on his back.
From man.
Side control, and then he set it up as his opponent was turning into him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Almost like he was setting up a DARS.
Okay.
But it wasn't a complete choke. And I'm like watching it thinking to myself, surely that's not going to finish. And then I'm like, actually, that looks like a pretty strong position. It kind of almost reminds me a bit like the Von Flue choke.
Right.
Where it's a position that someone can find themselves in. And as long as they recognise that position, they can use it to their advantage. But at the same time, but at the same time, their opponent shouldn't get caught in it. They should be able to find ways out. But was interesting. I'm going to watch it back a couple of times and see if it's transferable to other people of other body types. Because like the Ben Rothwell go-go choke, that's Ben Rothwell's choke because physiologically he can do it. He can weight himself over you. Whereas I don't know whether this was like a shoulder position, shoulder strength, arm length situation with Jalen Bates.
I just realised what an unbelievable segue this is into the UFC card. You're just a professional.
Why?
Well, Kasangany finished it with that no hooks. that no hook finish on Palatnikov, didn't he?
Well, you see how I do these things. Yeah. So what stood out to you on the card? Kasangany.
Well, I was quite happy for him because he got a very good, solid finish with a choke. Arguably, probably is difficult to get a finish. He must have had a hell of a squeeze on him.
Yeah.
To get that finish, I think everyone who watched it and chatting to the guys at the gym this morning, there's some simple things that Palatnikov could have done to at least make that a lot harder to finish that choke. But I was pretty happy for Kasangany to come off the back of the most famous thing that's happened to you is getting knocked out by that ridiculous back kick.
Yeah.
And he sort of looked good.
Yeah.
He sort of looked good.
Darren Jung looked good.
Yeah, he basically did everything I said he wouldn't do in the preview. I thought he was really calm and collected and composed and just did a good job, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just did what he had to do. It was very good.
I'm interested to see how he progresses through this division because, light heavyweight there's a bunch of sharks in this division.
Yeah.
And he seems like a good well-rounder, like fairly strong. But then when you put him in there against someone like Magomed Ankalaev, then how does he look?
Yeah.
Yeah. Saldana didn't look nearly as good as I was expecting him to. Jordan Griffin had a great performance.
He's relentless.
I need to watch that again. I remember feeling surprised when I saw the decision, but then again I was in and out because I was watching other fights at the same time. But,
yeah. I don't know whether Saldana wasn't as good as I was expecting because Griffin was so good. Yeah. I thought it was a good performance from him, and he's tricky, isn't he, Griffin? He doesn't leave you alone. He drowns you in pressure.
He's had a tough run in the UFC as well. If you look who he's faced, Dan Ige and Chaz Skelly for his first two. They're difficult fights to have. Then he got a win over TJ Brown. Then he got Yousuff Zalal, who he had to chase around for 15 minutes.
Yeah, he did.
Try and get a hold of. I thought he looked really good. I'm going to watch the fight back because I'm interested to see how they scored it. But I like both guys. But I'll be honest, I was expecting Saldana to be able to catch him with a lot of stuff unanswered. And Jack Shaw, congratulations to Jack Shaw. But he made it difficult for himself. He did a little bit for himself.
He did a little bit.
Azure's was very competitive.
Yeah, he's
in
good
every
though.
range. He is good.
He's good. I thought it was a tough challenge for Jack, and obviously he came through it. Like we were speaking before about, you felt like he could have come through that much more efficiently. But he did come through it, and if you got your professional athlete or professional coach's hat on, that's probably good for him that he didn't have it all his own way.
Yeah,
that's a tough grinding performance against a pretty good solid guy, and I've no doubt Hunter will be around. He's going to be around for a while, isn't he? There was nothing you looked at him and were like, you're outmatched here, and you're probably out of your league.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, isn't it? Like, as a prize, so take that hat off and put your prize fighter hat on. You want to go in and you want to blast them and get them out of there as fast as possible, which you very rarely see someone, apart from probably Connor, you very rarely see someone come in and start doing that and get to the top. Whereas someone who got the result that Jack got, who's sort of building a career, but logging those rounds, logging those pictures, building up his career as he goes. I think it feels like there'd be a bit more longevity in that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, maybe it's just because I've seen him work people over really, really efficiently with a very similar game plan over and over. Like his last fight on Cage Warriors against Scott Malone. Like, it's just that efficiency of control as well as attack and eventually opening up the opportunity to finish with the rear naked choke. And I don't know whether it's like his striking's very sharp as well, but his game's often very linear to the finish. Like, he knows what he wants to do, he sticks to game plan. Whereas with the Azure fight, I kind of felt like I felt like he's let me put it this way. I felt like the UFC had matched him with this fight to see where his wrestling was at. And I kind of almost felt like Jack was going, right, I'm going to show you how good my wrestling is because I'm going to take him down.
Yeah.
You know?
We didn't necessarily need to follow that path.
No, I don't think
he
so.
He could have dispatched him if he just stuck to what he was best at.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, his striking's incredibly sharp, and I don't think he... I think he engaged in wrestling, which was the more difficult path, should we say. Basically because to try and prove that against Azure, who's kind of coming in with this wrestling credential.
Yeah.
But he's very slick, isn't he? He's very slick.
He's one to watch.
Yeah, he is.
He's definitely one to watch.
Still undefeated.
Yeah. It's tough to do that nowadays, isn't it?
It is.
Very, very tough.
It is, especially when you're going after it, when we're going to take it from someone. You know, oftentimes, undefeated fighters or fighters that keep the losses out of their win column, out of their loss column, they're the ones that they don't control the fights. They control the fights very well. Their game plan is control first and then attack. Whereas the guys that pick up a few losses are the ones that there's
taking
a roll
a risk,
of the dice,
taking a risk to finish.
Yeah. Whereas I would say Jack Shaw does take risks. You know, he is a bit of a risk taker at times as well. But just a well-rounded kid. You know, good team in his corner.
Excited to see him again.
Very.
Off the back of that, I was like, oh, cool. Rest up. Well, let's go.
Yeah.
You're
just
young.
keep the momentum going.
Keep going.
Know? What about Jargis Danho that have been out for 40 years or something?
Our question in the preview was, where's he been and what's he been doing?
And what a knockout.
Yeah.
What a knockout.
I messaged you, didn't I? Snapped that head over that carotid artery and just folded it together. And it was a good night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the roll of the dice at heavyweight, isn't it?
It just seems to be De Castro's fights. I mean, what was it? Taffa that he fought.
Yeah.
And he did the same to Taffa. Comes crashing in and clips him with a shot.
Yeah. I think, he probably needs to look at that because he's relatively mobile for a very, very big unit, isn't he? But doesn't really use it particularly well.
Yeah.
And I think, like you say, he crashes in and you just can't, The dice are already weighted at heavyweights. It's it doesn't get much more dangerous. You just need to be a bit more conscientious about as and when you're stepping into the
into the breach,
the zone of death.
Yeah. Fight, I don't know whether it was called a fight of the night or not, but
this was unbelievable.
It was awesome, wasn't it?
This was unbelievable.
I mean,
I just couldn't believe it how it was unfolding.
No,
I just couldn't believe it. I was like, who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Which one?
Makdessi.
Makdessi,
Makdessi, yeah. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Because we were high on Bahamondes after watching him for last week's show. Really good.
All about him.
Long range, dangerous.
Yeah. And it started exactly like that.
And then he got
I was
clipped.
like, oh, he's getting in. He's getting in.
And then he went down.
He's having it here.
And I was like,
with overhand or straight right.
Yeah, I don't remember. Cracks him clean, didn't he?
Proper.
I've watched so many fights this week.
Proper clean landing.
Yeah.
Bloodied him all up. Like his face was a mess, wasn't it? And I genuinely thought Makdessi was in for a rough night, and the stature of the two guys, it was so.
He's got to go up a weight. I mean, I know he missed weight. He was slightly at 156, so he was 3/4 of a pound overweight, Bahamondes. But all the way through the fight, I kept thinking that to myself, he's a welterweight.
He's got a massive.
He's got to move up.
Yeah.
And he'll probably grow into that weight really quickly as well.
Yeah, he's young, isn't he?
Yeah.
But he's going to be around. He's going to be around. He's way too skilled. And you know what? He showed a lot of heart and a lot of composure because that nose is probably broke. His eyes were almost shut. And he hung on in there, didn't he?
He did.
And there must, obviously I've never done it, but there must be a feeling where you're just like, oh shit. Like, he's landing everything and I'm barely landing here. And he just hung in there and hung in there and hung in there. Fair play. If you're going to lose,
that's the way to go.
Yeah, lose like that.
Yeah, he gave. I mean, he lost the first round big, and then clawed his way back to a split decision loss, which is the thing. The thing I thought when he hit the deck was because the commentators, they kept talking about the fact that his family were all watching back at home, and like he would have known that, and all the pressure that he was putting on himself to do that walk as well, and then knowing all those people were watching. And then it's a lot of pressure for a young man. But John Makdessi looked fantastic. I just want to see some consistency out of him because with striking like that, I want to see him work his way up this division. I mean, he's how old is he? He can't have that long left.
Unbothered by Bahamondes. He was just not bothered about him, was he? He was not like, oh, he's taller and longer and sharper. Like, he didn't have anything. He had no advantages at all. He was slower than him, shorter than him, probably looked a bit weaker than him.
Older
than him.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable.
Yeah. Gamrot as well against Holtsman. He's terrifying.
That's Gamrot. The Gamrot that we thought we were going to see if it was matched against pretty much anyone other than Kutateladze.
But then that makes Kutateladze stock go even higher, given the fact that Gamrot looks so good. Because like everyone, coming into the UFC, everyone's like, "Oh, Gamrot's finally in the UFC. This is going to be awesome." And then he got drawn again against Kutateladze, and as I was researching it, I'm like, he's really good. Like he's really slick and he's competitive in every range. This might not be quite as celebratory an entrance. And and again, I think we've talked about this. Like sometimes, especially if someone's coming over from another organisation and they're going
to make a point.
Yeah, like sometimes they go, "Oh, you're good, are you? Okay, well, let me find this unknown person that is absolutely lethal." Yeah, and that's your debut, and we'll see how. And he gave a great account of himself in that first fight.
I mean, it was very close. That first fight was close, and I think Guram said at the end that he didn't think he won it. Did he? Didn't really want his hand raised, did it?
I did think he won though.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I'd need to watch it back, but I do remember scoring 2 rounds to him. I mean, and it was razor thin, but if you take one round and you watch it and you go, okay, well, like you've got to figure out your opinions on whether you wait, take down a fence and scrambling and then repressure him with strikes heavier than you do someone taking down and kind of grinding, and there's lots of different things you kind of have to weigh up in your own head to interpret the scoring criteria, and I. Like it was just a very competitive fight, but then now you think to yourself, like Guram's next fight he's matched up, isn't he? No, it's not.
No, I'm joking. Yeah. I'm joking.
Yeah. I saw Paddy's been giving his address out to everybody. He's going to bring some trouble upon himself.
Oh no.
But yeah, Guram's match though. Oh, it's Don Madge. He's mixed. I know. Dynamite as well.
Oh, about that. I didn't know that. I've not seen that.
Yeah, that's a hell of a fight. Solecki against Jim Miller was good. Well, so it was good. No, it wasn't good. It was good for Joe Solecki, but it was it seemed a bit submissive from Jim Miller. Like he looked really strong in the first round. Like, oh, okay, you're coming to replace me in my home state, are you? It was that kind of vibe. And then after the first round, he was like, maybe it's time for the new kids to take over.
It's just sort of, the commentators touched on it a couple of times that they were just sort of neutralised each other a bit, and Solecki just had the edge. Do you know what I mean? It probably, I'm not sure.
What was it? Jim Miller's 37th fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
Broke the record.
Incredible.
You've got to wonder how much
he's the end of level boss for Solecki, isn't he? He's like, right, go fight Jim Miller. Yeah. If you get past him, then you can go on to the next level.
He's the end of level boss for, hang on, where's he from? New Jersey. Is that where he lives? Yeah, New Jersey.
Don't you have just such a apart from the result, don't you have like a general good feeling about New Jersey from the time we spent out there?
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah. See, they're both from New Jersey. That was the narrative going in, wasn't it? It was like he's the younger guy. He was watching Jim Miller on the circuit when he was coming up, and it was like it was like a change of the guard was the phrase was used, and it kind of felt a bit like that, to be honest. It was like
All right, cheers, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
37 fights.
That's incredible, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Especially in the organisation that is the organisation that it is. Like, not many of those are gimmies, are they?
And how many training camps did he have Lyme's disease for?
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting thing to figure out. Because you got to, I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. Main card time.
Mate, someone put on Twitter, Mike Perry's nose is so broke it started his own OnlyFans account. He just...
Oh, that's good.
We're funny, aren't we, as a race, as a species?
Yeah, we are.
We're just funny.
I
wonder if like cats have funny cats. Like, he's the funny cat in again.
Do they have that much variety in another species?
In another
species.
Know. It's just brilliant. We're constantly undefeated on the internet.
If you took Mike Perry as a child and switched him with Jimmy WALLHEAD as a child, and they grew up in opposite places, do you think it'd be much different? I reckon if Jimmy grew up in Miami, it'd be as mad and as chaotic as Mike Perry.
Yeah.
You can see that, can't you?
Yeah, I can see that.
Like
he'd probably be a YouTube sensation on backyard fights.
He would. That's the way that Mike Perry
knocking
should have
Masvidal
gone.
out in a backyard somewhere.
Mate, they can't. Oh, he's from Flint, Michigan, is he? So they can't release Mike Perry because he'll end up at bare knuckle boxing and he'll just end up mangled.
More mangled. He's a strange case, Mike, isn't he? Because you watch it. I was watching and I was like, you've got some really good techniques. Like, technically,
well, that
really
was the
good.
thing. It was his ground game for his last couple of fights. It was really impressive. Who was it? He took the back of. Was it? Hang on, it'll come to me in a minute. Was it Tim Means? In the first round, he took him down, took his back, like, real slick. Even like Joe Rogan was like, he took his back really technically. Like it was a surprise. Yeah. But I don't.
Joe, don't sound so surprised.
Yeah, innit? I mean, I expected that from Daniel Rodriguez. He's got Joe Schilling in his corner.
He pops that jab hard, doesn't he?
Slick striking, slick striking, and you can tell he's got an enjoyment in the pocket. You know what I mean? Like he loves being there. He's very calm and very he's very precise with what he's doing, what he's thinking. You know what I mean? He responds to his coaching very well. Then Mike
I was impressed,
Perry's
man. I was impressed by him. I hadn't seen a lot of Rodriguez, to be honest, but I was impressed by him.
Yeah.
He must have thought, though, like, what more do I have to throw at this dude? Because I'm hitting him clean.
Yeah.
And he just keeps sort of wandering forward with his head exactly on the middle line.
Right on centre line.
Like, not 1 degree off either way.
Yeah.
And just getting popped.
I felt kind of bad for Mike Perry afterwards because I bet you saw his tweet.
Yeah.
I used to be good. I'm like, well, you used to be competitive. Like,
it's tough, man. Like, where do you
dude, if he walked into a good gym with coaches that would train him up and he would listen to them and respect him, I think he could be very effective. I think he's got all the physical attributes. He's got the desire to fight.
You can't do this game without a family around you.
Can't do it.
You just can't do it. It's too hard.
Yeah.
It's too hard. There's too many things to learn. The process of learning it is infinite, and you just can't do it. Oh, I'm going to cramp in my hamstring again.
Oh, yeah.
There we go, we're good. We're right.
Need to get some electrolytes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you
we haven't got the electrolytes out.
We've not got them. Oh. Yeah, I'd like him to walk into a gym that I think he'd respond well. And I saw Darren Tillard offered him to come over, and I actually think he'd respond really well.
Talk about out of your comfort zone. Bring him out. Bring him over here.
Yeah, but the thing is if he did it, the very act of travelling over to come into the gym and like kind of hand yourself over, they'd have that much respect for him that they'd be like, you know what,
mate, those boys will look after him.
They look after him.
100% they look after him. It'd be an amazing move for him.
It would.
Don't know whether he'd do it, but it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking Florida to Liverpool. I don't know. I'd rather live in Liverpool than Florida for sure. But then again, I'm Mike Perry, and I think
it's a bit wild, isn't it?
It is a bit.
Wild.
It is a bit wild.
So where do you see Rodriguez? Like he doesn't scream top 10 to me. Like I can't picture him up there with those goddamn savages at the top. Maybe top 15, maybe, but that division is rough, innit?
It is.
I don't know where he, when you see someone, you're like, oh, I can picture you up there.
Yeah.
What you did tonight was good enough to picture you right up there. I can't quite see that, but
I mean, I could see him against Robbie Lawler. I could see that fight. I mean, Robbie Lawler's right at 15, and then just inside 15 is Sean Brady, Battle of the Tattoos.
That'd be a fun fight. I feel like Sean would win it.
Beat him, yeah.
I feel like Sean would win that.
But it only gets tougher going up.
Yeah.
Like Bilal Muhammad's next up, but he's looking up the rankings. But like the Leech might be an interesting one. Jing Liang.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because there's such a diversity of skill in welterweight, and they've got the speed and the strength to land consistently and wrestle, but they've also right on that line where power's spread across the weight class, so everyone's got a bit of pop.
Yeah.
And that does obviously start to filter out a little bit as you go down the weight classes, but at welterweight, I always felt like that was the tipping point between the two. Especially when you look at the likes of Robbie Lawler and Thiago Alves, you're like, they hit hard. They're hard hitters.
He was my favourite when I first found this sport.
Alves.
Thiago Alves. Yeah. I always want to be able to whip that leg kick in like Alves could whip that leg kick in.
Yeah, slick.
15 years on, I still can't do it properly, but,
Yeah.
He was an inspiration.
It's a wicked technique. His low kicks were incredible.
Yeah.
And I tell you who else had wicked low kicks as well was Pedro Hizo. I always remember I mean, and at heavyweight as well.
Yeah, a lot more weight behind him as well.
Yeah, it's like someone swinging a tree trunk at you. Mackenzie Dern, slick. She's got to be moving into the rankings now.
Gotta be.
I mean, where
she's
is she?
Completely dominated it,
didn't she? 11, so she's got to be moving into the top 10.
She's so slick. She didn't give him a breath, did she? She didn't give her a breath at all. Very, very dangerous.
No. Interesting fights above her. Someone like a Tisha Torres or a Michelle Waters going to be interesting. Claudia Gadea. But she needs to face someone that can at least attempt to shut down her submission game and force her to strike. Because that was, when we saw her struggle, that was why she struggled. It was against Hebus, who was able to do that.
Watson might have the agility and, to cause a few
problems. Right to the midsection over and over again.
Cause a few problems. Be fun.
Yeah. Talented, skilled, marketable. Keep moving her up the rankings.
Yeah, good on her.
Marquez against Sam Alvey. I struggle with
it's just too much for him, isn't he?
Yeah.
It was just too much for him.
Julia Marquez too much for Sam Alvey. Yeah, absolutely. Also, just too much for post-fight interviews as well.
Oh yeah,
he needs to stop with all that. I find it exhausting.
It's not my.
That horrible self-promotion thing.
It's not my bag. I almost don't mind self-promotion, but the scripted,
that's hard work. That is
WWF old school.
Yeah.
It's not my thing.
No.
He was pretty good though.
Yeah, he's just a lump at middleweight. I don't see him putting a dent in the rankings. I think he's slightly undersized for the division. If you put him next to someone like Paulo Costa, who's the top end of the division, it'd make Julian Marquez look like a welterweight, and that's my concern.
He'd fight him the wrong way as well, wouldn't he? They try and match him for, power. When we've seen how you go after Costa.
Yeah,
you beat him with precision, don't you?
I mean, there are some good scraps. Just like I could see him facing someone like a Brad Tavares, and having a good fight. Competitive fights. But then
he punches hard though, man. He does punch hard. He punches awkward in that scrambling up against the fence and the dirty box. He does,
Maybe I'm underestimating him.
He's with James Krause, right?
Yeah.
It seemed a good match.
Yeah. I mean, James Krause, I think he's adaptable enough to work with anybody. To be honest, I think he knows the game well enough, and he's able to look at the fighters in a way where he's like, right, I think they need this, and I think whether it's a confidence boost or a reality check or a particular type of technique. Maybe I'm counting him out. I just look up the rankings and think to myself, I don't know how he deals with the likes of a Jack Hermanson or a Darren Till, a Derek Brunson. They then become a bit problematic for him, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see some. Darren would.
Maybe I'm just turned off by the fact that he's so damn.
You're judging his
cringy.
fight skill by his post fight press conference.
If that's the case, then I'm done with him. Arnold Allen.
Oh man,
that was a hell of a fight as well. Was that fight? I've not got.
I haven't seen the bonuses either.
Oh,
this is the tip
fight
of
the night was Marquez against Sam Alvey.
Really?
Yeah. So this is something I've realised recently. If I'm watching a fight and I can tell that neither fighter's really trying to set anything up,
they're just wailing.
I lose interest.
Yeah.
I lose interest.
You could get fight of the night by standing in front of each other and wailing, couldn't you?
Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff that, when you've had, you got 6 beers in you and you like punching the air and you're watching that kind of stuff, like that's all you want to see. It's the just bleed kind of fight. And you've got to have a sprinkling of them on the card, but at the same time, like the transitions back and forth, like all of the technical aspects that were thrown into the Arnold Allen Sadiq Yousuff fight, you take that from the first round and most fights can't reach that kind of level.
Yeah.
There's so many things going on in those fights there's a clear difference in levels. And when you see one fighter that's got those levels against the other, it's like Anderson Silva against Chris Lieben. When you got 2 Chris Liebens, it's a bloodbath and it's a lot of fun.
Barn burner.
But when you got 2 Anderson Silvas and there's a lot going on, like that gets my attention, and then I can't take my eyes off the screen. And it's refreshing to see that further down the card. And it doesn't happen as often as I would like. Arnold Allen, Sadiq Yousuff was gold. It was a really, really good fight. And I thought Arnold Allen, what's going on with this? It keeps switching on and off.
But you can have those technical barn burners like that when Munoz and Rivera, like that. They're barn burners.
Yeah,
they're swinging each other, but there's some precision to it as well.
Yeah, there is. But that the precision is with the technical ability.
Yeah,
not with their application. And again, I like both guys. I love watching that fight. But it's Dutch drills. They're going one for one. They're going like, okay, I go wham 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 bang, and then you'll go wham 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 bang, and then wham wham wham, and it's you get that same kind of rhythm going over and over again. And like obviously because I've just bathed in Masvidal and Usman footage, and there's a lot going on with those two guys. Like you watch Masvidal against Darren Till, and you can watch him reading Darren Till in the moment. Like there's a moment in the fight where, because the knockout is a switch stance, it's like a 3-step switch, and he comes over the top, sets it up with the right hand, comes over the top with the left hook, like a long left overhand. But earlier in the fight, he's tested that same thing 3 or 4 times in different scenarios. So there's one where he's up against the fence. And like, when you sparring with someone that's of a lower level to you, sometimes you'll show them a shot that you could have hit them with. Like they'll throw a lazy jab and you'll just touch them with your overhands like, this is here. There was a moment in the fight where Masvidal was backed up against the fence, and the only thing he's got to think about is the left hand of Darren Till. Because Darren's all about that left hand over and over again. So it makes it a bit easier for Masvidal to figure out what's coming. So then he can divert more brain power to what he's doing. And in this situation, he just kind of went... And he threw like a real lazy left hook and just left it out there for a second longer. Like he was observing Darren Till's reaction, which was...
Right.
And he was like, okay. And then almost immediately afterwards, he did a switch right hand, left hand, and landed but not with enough power. So then he adapted it to put a 3rd step in and cover more distance.
Yeah.
But like to watch him doing that in the moment, you're like... God, I can see what he's doing. This is like nice. Sometimes like when I was commentating, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can see this is happening because because the pattern's already happened.
Yeah,
it's already been established earlier on. They're the ones that really draw me in. I don't mind a just bleed kind of fight, but they're the ones that I'll put on when I'm doing bag work.
Yeah,
because I can look at it halfway through the first round or halfway through the third, and it's the same fight.
Yeah, it's the technical mastery of those fights you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it takes a certain, and I'm not saying that I would see it the way you would see it, but it takes a certain time in the game, just watching and watching and watching to be able to even see that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Man, I think Arnold Allen is gonna be a big problem. He's very, very springy. I know he's out at TriStar, but his strength and conditioning coach, a UK-based strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah. Isn't his dad like a strong man?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure his dad's a strong man, and I'm sure his brother is something powerlifting champ, strong man, something or other. I mean, his dad's like built.
Yeah.
So I think it's been a culture, family culture, all the way through his life to be lifting heavy things in the back garden. Yeah. I remember like John Gooden's got a good little documentary that he did with Arnold Allen, where he spent some time with him during a training camp. And like his setup in his backyard is like an old bench and pull-up bars, and and it's like proper spit and sawdust out there with your dad doing strength and conditioning.
I think the Russian have a department of physical culture. I always really like. I think I had a weightlifting manual once, and it said Department of Physical Culture, and I always really liked that.
Oh, that's
that
nice.
phrase. It was pretty cool, isn't it?
Department of Physical.
Yeah, he works
culture.
with William Wayland down south in London, but he's a very, very, very good strength and conditioning coach. And I think you can see it. Arnold's very, very springy, and he stays springy. So his endurance is clearly good. Bring it on, man.
Yeah,
bring it on. I think he's like. Can you see any holes? Is there something that you're going to look if you're going to figure top 5, top 3? Is there anything you're like you could get found out here?
I think. Okay, one thing I will. I mean, he's heavy on the lead leg a lot of the time, and so he doesn't mind leaving himself vulnerable for them to throw in him to counter. I And I would say that could be a bit better managed. I think he could manage the pace of the fights a bit better because he just kind of, although he knows what he wants to do, he does just kind of flow through it at whatever pace because obviously he's so well conditioned.
Yeah.
But I think that conditioning for him is either going to be a positive or a negative over 5 rounds. He's either going to be able to use it and weaponize it against his opponent, but that means managing it and acknowledging that it's part of his arsenal instead of just a characteristic of his body. Do you know? Or maybe he'll have to kind of Aldo it and manage 4 rounds of work over 5 rounds like he always did with his decisions.
I can see him top 5.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I can see
Absolutely.
him top 5, yeah.
Absolutely I can.
I tell you what, I wouldn't mind seeing him against Calvin Kattar.
Oh man, that'd be a war.
Wouldn't it?
It'd be a war. But see, that's the kind of fight where he starts to struggle because he leaves his head on the line, and someone like Calvin Kattar who's just in the pocket, just bang, something's gonna land.
Yeah.
You know? I used an analogy on the breakdown show which I quite liked. Like if you've got someone squirting at you with a water pistol, you might be able to fend it off with a saucepan lid. But if they throw a bucket of water at you, you're gonna get wet.
Something's getting through.
Exactly. And that's where Mads Bennell had him backing up, and that was a good win for him. But it was razor thin up until that point where he got the ninja choke. Someone like Mads Bennell though he uses that Philly shell so well, and he walks people onto their back foot and then just starts peppering them, and that could be quite discouraging for him. And then he would be forced to wrestle, and then he's got someone like Kattar who's got good takedown offense as well. That's where he'll be tested, but. That's where you want him tested when he's like right up near the top of the rankings.
Oh yeah, I mean now's the time, right?
Well, yeah.
Is
it 10 at the
all
moment?
bets are off. Oh, is he? Yeah. So
he is at the moment, but he'll probably jump up tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, Kattar's at number 6, but like he's not going to get a fight out of someone like Dan Ige because he's been hanging around trying to get higher ranked fights for a while. Not sure what's going on with Josh Emmett. Not heard much from him. Is he matched?
I've not heard anything about him.
But but then you're into top 5. Korean Zombie Yair Rodriguez isn't going to open himself up in the top 5 to someone like that because there are bigger money fights that could be marketed with someone like Rodriguez. Magomed Sharapov, Brian Ortega, Max Holloway, and the champ. It's going to be so difficult to get anybody in that group to. Yeah,
that's why I think Calvin's the one.
It's a good shout.
He might tempt him.
It's a good shout. Jeremy Stevens. Just above him in the rankings, but then he might pass him anyway. Yeah,
and Jeremy's on this card coming up, and that might sync up.
That's true.
That might work.
Who's Jeremy got?
Jeremy Stevens is. Oh, I've gone the wrong way. Jeremy Stevens is Drakkar Close.
Oh, that's a good fight.
Yeah.
That's a good fight. Let's quick talk about Vettori then, and then we'll get into the next card.
Oh man, we got some heat about not picking Vettori, didn't we?
I know, didn't we?
Yeah.
I was
just an opinion. Everyone, calm down.
You know when I saw Kevin Holland walking into the arena with no shirt on, and I was like, he's got his medallion out, he's got his swagger on, he's not grinning and dancing around. I'm like, he's coming in with something to prove. But he's still like, as soon as his eye got fucked up, he's like his whole game changed. And there was like this weird thing in the corner where the doctor was like, "Can you see?" And he's like, "What? Can you see?
Don't
what?"
close your eye.
Yeah.
What do you do with him?
Yeah.
Like I remember the first time we talked about him. I said he's just too inconsistent to put a run. I couldn't imagine him being a champ. I just can't imagine him being a champ.
Yeah. I was hoping for the best because I think he's interesting. I think he's an interesting
You've got
character.
kung fu bias.
I have got kung fu bias for sure. I got a load of shit for talking about Marvin. There was one guy on the channel I saw a comment which made me laugh, and it was what was it? It was like talking about Marvin Vettori having devastating power. I'm like, he's not stopped anybody in a long time. Like he's not. It was a knee against Jack Mason was the last time he stopped someone. It was a long time ago, and like. I think people think I've got some kind of weird bias towards these fighters. If I'm saying he throws his left hand short, it's because that's what I can fucking see. He throws his left hand short.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of times when he had Kevin Holland backed up against the fence, and he's falling short with that left hand.
Yeah.
Like I think
I was chatting to Jimmy. Well, interrupted you again. I was chatting to Jimmy about him this morning. He trained with him down at London Shoot for a while. Yeah, and he feels like he's improved a lot.
Yeah,
there's still a fair bit to go.
Yeah, definitely.
God damn it, he's strong though.
But that's the kind of person that you want to be working with, because he's going to show up every day with his kit, ready to work, hydrated, fueled. He's just that guy, isn't it? He's everything is MMA, and that counts for a lot. That counts for a lot. Like if you take Marvin Vettori and everything that he stands for and is in the MMA world, and you give him a sprinkling of what Kevin Holland's got, that little bit of creativity and a bit of loose flexibility, and I don't think he would lose anything, but that the edge that it would add to his game would move him more in a John Jones kind of direction. Because like John Jones controls everything, but it's the viciousness that makes him horrible to deal with. And although Marvin Vettori's got that viciousness within him, it doesn't manifest in his game. It mauls people, it wears people down. But he should have got Kevin Holland out of there after that eye damage. Yeah, that was 50-44 across all scorecards. He should have been able to manufacture a finish in that fight, just like I think Derek Brunson should have been able to as well. And I think the thing is with these guys is that their game is about control, top position, hold you down. And
I wonder if that's why I don't rate him. Like he's clearly good, but I just don't.
Vettori.
Yeah, I just don't rate him. It's not. I wouldn't tell anyone about him. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be like, check Marvin Vettori out.
No, that's it. Because there's not an edge to his game. There's not something. Oh, you've got to check out the. So, I mean, I'm struggling to pick Gamrot, for example.
Yeah.
If I was recommending someone off this card, I'd be like, go and check out Gamrot. That was beautiful and vicious.
I'm not going to say that about Marvin. Not
right now. And this is the problem is there isn't a fight since he's been in the UFC that I've said that about or I've thought that about. He got that rear naked choke over Carl Robertson, but aside from that, it's been all decisions.
Yeah, it's just a funny one. Like it like we've said a few times, it's not a prerequisite to be amusing or sort of fancy or have an edge to you. You could still get very high up the rankings. He's 6th. He probably he won't go over. Will he go over Darren Till to 5th? He's 6th at the minute.
I don't know. If he keeps talking shit about the fact that his collarbone fracture was fake, I don't know. I still want to see that fight be made. But see that's an interesting fight still. The reason that's interesting is because Marvin Vettori comes to fight, he brings an intensity. Darren Till's there to meet that intensity, but his game is so weighted towards one thing.
He's going to Darren Till will out-shit talk him.
Out-shit talk him, but might not out-grapple him.
He might not out-grapple him,
but he'll him, though.
Definitely out-shit talk him. What's Paulo Costa doing?
He's drinking wine in a hotel room and
bench press
putting lipstick
wine
on somewhere, I don't know. Mate,
that'll be an interesting fight.
Exactly, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know why that's interesting? Because they're mirror images of one another. And I got so much shit for the Paulo Costa comments, but the fact that he was he's a bodybuilder. He was a bodybuilder by comparison to Israel Adesanya. That was what I said.
Yeah.
By comparison, he was. He proved to be. Like his grasp of the technical abilities in MMA was far inferior to Adesanya.
How crazy is that number 2 and the champ can fight each other and be so outmatched. Like he was completely outmatched, wasn't he? But he's 2 spots down from him.
Then we saw the same thing with Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
But like this is something that we were talking about the other day, and this is a nice realization I've had recently, and I've really started to fully understand it. Like when you see someone out grapple someone else, even if you've never seen it before, it makes sense. You understand because you can see one person physically manhandling someone else. When it's striking, you could watch Anderson Silva take out Vitor Belfort and thought, oh, that was a good timed kick. Purely because you think that was the kick he chose to throw in that moment. But the fact that there was a much greater thing going on behind the curtains of, manipulating him with his eye line and feinting.
A game is afoot.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, because you don't see that, it's easy to discount the fact that it's not there. So when Vettori was saying in an interview, he's like, nobody knows more than me. I'm like, you've got to then fight Adesanya again and keep your mind open. Because Adesanya would most likely do what Paulo Costa did to him. What he did to Paulo Costa. would be to pepper him from the outside like he did the first time. And I think over 5 rounds, he probably finds a way through the guard as well. But I mean, you know, Costa and Vettori are very similar in the fact that they're just tough, strong, durable guys with a good handle on all the skills of MMA, but with the physical attributes to put it into practice. The Jedi mind tricks that Adesanya's got is a different level again.
Yeah.
And you saw that because of what happened with the Whittaker fight. And I'd say Kelvin Gastelum's kind of on there as well. Yeah. And Darren Till a little bit maybe as well. Kelvin Gastelum against Michael Bisping with the little pulled him onto the left. It's the same kind of thing, little traps that are being set, games that are being played.
So this is more of a question for me. So do you feel like it is easier to understand the traps and the setups in a grappling sense than it is to understand the traps and the setups in the striking arts? Because I can see what people are doing, and half the time you sort of know it's about to happen, and then it happens, and you can't do anything about it. But it seems like it, because the time scales in which they happen are so much smaller in striking. Do you think it's just a process of learning, or do you just think it is harder to pick up those skills in striking than it is to pick up those skills in grappling?
I think it's harder to comprehend it because most people don't comprehend it. So the understanding is not passed down.
Yeah,
it's not like it would take someone with an understanding of that to then communicate that to someone that has the ability to understand that. And I think they're rare. I think those individuals are rare, and them walking into, I'm fortunate because I got to train with Owen Comrie, who's a master striker, and Steve Papp, who's also a master striker. But they're different ends of the spectrum of mastery. Like Owen Comrie's out on the outside, very Adesanya, Anderson Silva style, slick, poke you with his long range weapons and keep jabbing you in the stomach and laughing at you in the process and breaking you psychologically, and then just setting all kinds of traps around you. So no matter where you went, you were walking onto something.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you've got Steve Papp, who used pressure and head position and you know, just a constant conditioned work rate to break people down. It's the opposite ends of the spectrum.
So like a black belt in jiu-jitsu is a level of mastery. But there's, you know, you come across a lot of black belts in jiu-jitsu. BJ, a black belt is not a mythical thing that you know only a couple of people in the world have got. Like, people have got them. That system can be understood good enough to get the highest grading. Is that the same in? Well, I guess
it's
there's so many
to gauge it in striking.
Yeah, isn't it? Because there's so many different, you know.
There's so many different facets to it, and because it's not tangible, you can't watch it happening unless you're really paying attention or have the right camera angles. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have a bunch of different camera angles to look at, and so I can see eye lines shift and things change like that. But it's, I don't know. I mean, well, like I keep seeping into all the breakdowns here, but like you look at the setup that Masvidal used against Ben Askren. Like, he used that setup because he knew there was a tendency for Ben Askren to shift his head to that side. When I spoke to Ben Askren before he fought Damian Maia, he didn't know that. He'd not comprehended that. Probably not comprehended the fact that Masvidal would watch him and be able to set him up for that. But then Ben Askren will be able to watch a wrestling match and see things that I won't see.
Yeah.
So it's having the eyes tuned to see it and then being able to then communicate that to somebody else. It's just really difficult. And I think if Marvin Vettori walked into Marvin Eastman, that's an old school throwback. If Marvin Vettori walked into Hardy Warlhead, I wouldn't train him the same as I would Darren Till. I wouldn't train him the same. It's not the same fighter, so they wouldn't need the same lessons.
Yeah.
Like with Vettori, like you go, okay, well, we've got all these physical attributes. He's aggressive. He's a push forward fighter. He takes a shot well if he needs to. Let's minimize that if possible, you know. And you accentuate the weapons that he's got. And you know, if you can't fix the problem of his left hand falling short, then you move him a bit further in with his feet. It, like, everything's adaptable. It works well for Stipe to have a short punch because he uses it at a short range. But if they don't have that awareness, like I remember Sean Shirk, old school back in the day, he used to box like he was 6'2", and he was 5'6", and everything used to fall short because someone had trained him really nice on pads, but they'd not taught him how to apply those punches. And then you got Vanderlei Silva on the other side of the world fighting in Pride, who just looks like a heap of shit on the pads. It's a scrappy mess, and it's all intensity. But when that intensity transfers over into the fight, he moves his feet with his punches and knocks people out. And I think there's little tweaks for these guys, but there's always something that can be tweaked. But like when it comes to Israel Adesanya, it's so difficult to teach that part because I don't think a lot of fighters can
comprehend it enough to learn it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well played, Marvin. You know, I think he sort of did what he had to do, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And he got there, and you know he'll be pushed up the rankings a little bit, and
we've got 50 minutes left on this memory card, so I have to keep an eye on that. But the good thing is that we've both been so busy, we've not watched the whole breadth of the card coming up, have we?
Well, there's a few lower down that I don't know too much about, other than an incredible nickname. Incredible.
If that's not the nickname of a stripper, I don't know what is.
Wow.
And what's your line that you said before the podcast started?
I wasted it, really.
No, you can't.
I just wish this had come up during our Manscaped episode. You know.
See that? I couldn't let that go. Do
you want to say it?
No. You've nailed it. You nailed it. It was
Dakota Hairy.
Good
Bush.
line, Hairy. That's terrible, isn't it? That's terrible.
Why would you?
I don't know.
Why would you?
I don't know.
I don't know a lot about these two.
Okay.
Apart from an amazing nickname.
Yeah. See, Austin Hubbard looked physically great in his last fight. In comparison, he really looked like he'd made some leaps forward. Yeah. But he was like Solecki's slick, isn't he?
Yeah.
Very
slick.
Like
loss, win. It's just
But then look at his losses. Hamos and Marco Madsen. Mark Madsen's a monster.
Yeah.
Davy Hamos
he's been rushed a little bit with who he's had to...
Maybe.
Who's hold on.
Then
how old is he?
Oh, hang on. Maybe he came in. Did he come in on short notice? He came in from LFA. So he was headline. Okay. He was headline LFA, and he won the lightweight, the vacant lightweight championship. So he came in as the LFA champ.
Okay.
That's why. So he was matched with Hamos pretty early on. But then records are similar. You know, it was 10-2 against 9-2 for Hamos. But then, like, Marco Madsen's just a horrible fight for everybody. And Joe Solecki just took his back and climbed him like a spider monkey, didn't he? And then on the flip side, you've got Dakota Bush. I'm not using his nickname. I can't do it. 8-2 coming in on a 2-fight win streak.
On debut, right?
Yeah, debut. Coming from LFA as well. So a similar path up. But this guy, again, has got loads of first-round rear naked chokes on his record. What are there? 4 there? 4 first-round rear naked chokes. 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 49, 2:05. So you're looking halfway through the round, his danger zone. But then he beat Austin Clem by head kick and punches in his last fight. I watched a little bit of him earlier. Scrappy. It's going to be a good fight. But I like what they've done because they've got Hubbard who's come over from LFA and they've matched him with someone else coming over from LFA. I wonder if there are any common opponents. I mean, he's just beat someone called Austin. That's always good, isn't it? Austin Powers next. Get 3 Austins in a row. There's a special bonus for that.
Yeah, we'll see how they go. Like I said, seen too much of either of them, but
Austin Hubbard. I'm making a pick for you.
Go on then, Austin Hubbard.
Anthony
Birchak and Tony Gravely.
Oh, hang on, we've got a different order here.
Have we?
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Birchak's second time in the UFC, isn't it? He's kind of floated around.
He's had a weird run, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's had some hard fights all the way through though, but then at the same time he's lost fights that I thought he should have won. Like Joe Soto's a tough individual, stopped him, but then lost to Entwistle by heel hook, and I expected him to be able to scramble out of that, especially with him being a 10th planet guy.
Black belt.
Yeah, black belt. Lost to Almeida, then beat Delano Lopez and was released from the UFC, coming off a split decision win,
and then went to Rising from there.
And fought Kawajiri.
Yeah.
Legend. I'd like to fight
It didn't go well though, did it?
It didn't. I mean, 3 decisions he lost. You know, he's competitive. But, I mean, and Kawajiri's good as well. Like, you know, people will underestimate Kawajiri because of what he did in the UFC. But he's been around for like 40 years. Yes, he was in Pride for years, wasn't he?
Yeah. Gravely got subbed by Brett John, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Rear naked choke.
That might be a little insight to how this might go down.
However, Anthony Birchak got subbed by Gustavo Lopez in his last fight by rear naked choke. So someone's getting subbed, basically.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
You'd think so. He's also just lost a grappling match by guillotine as well, Birchak, fairly recently,
Right.
end of January, against Suraj Budram. So he's got a couple of sub losses on his record, on his mind, and he's a 10th planet guy, so he's going to want to get that back.
Yeah, let's go with...
It's just second time around in the UFC as well. It's pressure. But I wasn't massively impressed with Gravely, just generally. I mean, I thought he looked good against Geraldo de Freitas. He's fighting someone that was much taller and rangier and used his wrestling to his advantage. Maybe his advantage in this one is to use his wrestling to keep it standing because, Brett Johns was still able to take his back.
Yeah, I think maybe Birchak takes this.
You reckon?
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
Right, put Birchak in. So there we go.
What's your next fight you've got?
So what have you got?
Well, I've got Jessica Penne against Lupita Godinez.
We'll go up there.
Is that where you are?
Yeah.
Are you in a different order?
Yeah.
So Jessica Penne's, she's a very good grappler. She's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. She's struggled with strikers when she can't get them to the floor. And sometimes she starts off fights like she's happy to strike, when in actuality her strength is on the ground.
Yeah.
And I think, Lupita Godinez is coming in undefeated, but she's a bit of a tornado.
She is a tornado, isn't she? And she has got some hands on her.
Yeah,
she does have some hands. She's got a nice right hand when she throws it down the pipe, but she also throws it a bit loose and loopy over the top. Loopy, it's a nickname. Loopy Godinez. Yeah, she just throw it a bit loose. I think she got caught once, not in terms of a knockout, but she got caught a couple of times. She's probably got enough to light Jessica up, hasn't she?
Especially with Jessica coming off 3 losses, and she's been inactive as well. I mean, her last fight was 2017. She got suspension, didn't she? Tainted supplement suspension.
Osterine.
Yeah.
Maybe the old, Yeah. Osterine, I think, crops up a few times.
It's a regular offender for a USADA, isn't it?
Some factories spilling Osterine in whey protein. Yeah.
My memory of her is getting smashed in the face with that elbow by Joanna, getting backed up and then just blitzed. And then you've got Andrade as well. And then Danielle Taylor in her last outing was just kind of too busy for her.
Too much.
I mean, that might be a very similar kind of fight, given the fact Danielle Taylor's really short, in and out of range, light on her toes.
Yeah, Jessica just doesn't fill me with confidence. Whenever I watch her, it just doesn't make me feel like she's going to win.
No. So you're going with Godinez then?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Lupi on debut?
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's a good name for her to get.
Yeah, coming from LFA as well. But it will be a big step up in competition. If it hits the ground, she's going to be tested by Jessica Penne. But I think, if she can fight in burst and work in and out of range, she can make the most of the fact that Jessica Penne is a little bit stationary. She does tend to place her strikes a little bit instead of firing, and that's definitely not the case with Lupi. So which way you go?
Yeah, go.
I'm going to hustle through these so we don't have to stop and start again.
What we got left?
42 minutes.
Easy.
42 minutes.
Easy. Yeah, lock in Godinez.
Okay. What's your next fight on your list?
Nunes and Dos Santos. Zara Dos Santos.
Oh, I've got a different name here. Zara Fern, it says on Tapology.
Oh,
yes, yeah. 6-4 against 7-1.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of Josiane Nunes?
Yeah, I did.
Josiane?
I didn't watch a lot. I watched her on Sicario 4, and she basically beat up some housewife who'd been at boxercise. I think it wasn't.
Is that right?
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but she's got some nice combos, some solid knees, and she landed some nice head kicks.
Yeah.
Zara, I don't really know. She's tall.
She's tall. She's coming down a weight class.
Yeah, she just didn't seem to like when she fought Megan. That's a good move because especially when she fought Megan, she just got out hustled on the fence, massively out hustled, just like dominated completely. She sort of, she's long and tall and long, but she was rushed. She just rushed in, and then obviously got got caught when it was close.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem to have any real ground game at all. Like there's a few positions she got put in that she just didn't seem to have any kind of answer for.
No basics.
No, nothing.
No basics. No bridging. No elbow knee escapes. None of that kind of stuff.
No.
And I don't know whether that's because she's always been able to kind of boss away out of those positions. But 6-4, I mean, she's heading close to 50-50.
Yeah.
But she's only losing by decisions outside of the UFC. It's been since she's got to UFC level that it's, I mean, first round stoppages on the ground, triangle and ground and pound by Spencer.
I mean, Nunes didn't seem like she was going to want to grapple from what I've seen. But to be fair, I haven't seen a lot of it.
No.
She doesn't seem like she's going to want to go in there and grapple. Maybe that's why they've given it to her.
I mean, her affiliation on Tapology is Striker's House, so that does kind of give it away. It sounds like a cool coffee blend. I watched her against Dion Barbosa, and like that was an uphill battle for the first round and a bit, and then she was able to turn it around and just attacked her relentlessly until the referee stopped it.
She's game.
Yeah, very
She's
game.
Definitely game.
But she can get drowned on the floor as well.
Right, okay.
I don't know what her ground game's like by comparison, but I would say she's probably got an advantage just purely from what I've seen of a defensive work on the ground. Yeah,
Zara just didn't give me any reason to pick her really. I couldn't. I was like, that. I don't know what your plan is here, but I hope you've got one.
Big height advantage as well for her as well. I reckon.
I'm unsure whether you can win by height though.
No. So you're going with with
Nunes,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Is she a relation? She's no relation.
No,
Amanda, no.
It's a very common name.
Yeah.
It's a very common name.
Only because when I was looking her up earlier, Amanda popped up.
Yeah.
And then I never clicked. I never went down that thread.
She reminds me of Jessica Andrade a lot. The way that she attacks, like she's like that relentless. Yeah.
Exhausting way to go about it.
For sure. What's up next on yours? Have you got heavyweights next?
Yeah.
Yeah. Romanov against Espino.
Yeah.
One loss between them.
Love him.
23 wins. Which one?
Romanov.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fun, man. He's a freaking polar bear sized human throwing spinning attacks and lunging front kicks. What's the technical correct technical term for that lunge front kick?
A teep.
But no, not a teep. It's off a bounce. I'll have to show it to you later.
Well, it's almost like
a flying side kick.
Oh right.
I'll show it to you. I can't remember which fight it was in.
There is a technical term for it.
There you go. I've just made one up.
Maybe it's just
double-handed King Kong punches in ground and pound, and seemed to. Who did he fight?
He's got his style listed as sumo as well. His foundation style.
Oh mate, I was all about him. I think he's great.
So how's he match up against Espino then?
I haven't seen a massive amount of El Guapo, but I think he might be in a bit of trouble. I think he's just going to be all over him.
You reckon? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
This might be Espino taking a beating for the first 2.5 or 3 minutes, and then him being able to reverse position and get on top.
So I thought, well, I can't remember, and I didn't write it down, but the last person Romanov fought, I thought he was going to gas himself out because he just went. He was relentless and he was putting loads of ground and pound in, and I was like, "You're going to fall off a cliff here," and he just kept going and going and going. I was really surprised.
Yeah,
and a lot of it was just on arms as well. He wasn't getting a lot through. I thought you're just going to burn yourself out here.
I'm just looking down his record though, and it's hilarious. Like the 50 seconds rear naked choke, 43 seconds choke. First rear naked choke, punches, and it's like seconds into fights. He's got 3 forearm chokes on his record.
Yeah, he was trying that in the one I watched this morning as well. He was just grinding. But I think he's fun, man.
Yeah, but fun past the first round.
Yeah,
you reckon? Yeah, and
he's got a couple of rounds in him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Has he got a height disadvantage? Jeez, Espino's 40. I didn't realise he was 40.
Yeah.
10 wins in a row.
Coming out of Spain, right? Many fighters coming out of Spain.
No, not really. Las Palmas, Canary Islands. Yeah. I mean, good on the ground, though. A lot of first-round finishes, a lot of first-round submissions as well.
He ain't subbing this polar bear.
You not think?
No, he's not subbing this polar bear. No way.
So you've got Romanov by sub, have you? Is that how you're having it?
No.
No.
Romanov by double-fisted Be careful. Double fisted King Kong. Latex gloves on. King Kong ground and pound.
Yeah.
Whack.
Double fist. Double fist KO.
Yeah, I don't. You can't put that out there.
Okay. What you got next?
Probably KO though.
Cortez against Kish. Or have you got Meerschaert against Fabinski?
I've got Fabinski and Meerschaert.
Okay, let's talk about that one then.
This is a hell of a re-up psychologically for Gerald, isn't it?
Oh, it is. But he's not going to get starched like he did.
No,
not by Bartosz.
But he'll put similar pressure on. Right, he's going to come at him and cut him, not in the same way, but he's going to, he's going to come at him and take his space away from him.
Yeah, but Meerschaert has got a lot of fights, but a lot of his fights he finds himself in very submissive situations. Like when he fought Jack Hermansson, he was just kind of allowing stuff to happen and rolling through and kind of moving with it. Fabinski's got a very strong judo background, I believe. He's smashes people up against the fence, drags them to the floor, very imposing top game. My thought is that Meerschaert's going to be quite happy to fight off his back and try and set subs up.
Okay.
Because Meerschaert's good off his back. He's got good triangle setups, good armbar attempts. And Fabinski's a bit of a bull in a china shop. Once he's in top position, he's head pressure and driving in. I would say he's much stronger in the clinch standing than he is on the ground, if that makes sense. Whereas Meerschaert's, he's more the jiu-jitsu guy coming into this one.
Man, it was the way he sort of disintegrated against Hamzat was almost
seconds.
It was visceral to watch, wasn't it? You could just feel his everything he sort of knew about himself was just disintegrated immediately. It was crazy to watch that.
He was walked down very, very fast though. He was put into a choking point up against the fence where he just didn't have anywhere to go, and it's okay, pop.
Bam.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Different kind. I mean, the smart thing to do would be to maybe try and keep this one standing and use his striking, because he will be the bigger man here, I think. I mean, what's Fabinski? 6 foot, 75-inch reach compared to Meerschaert, I feel is taller than that, although he does kind of stand a bit hunched. 6'1", 77.5-inch. So a little bit. But I think
Fabinski's beaten Dern, he's beaten Emil Mek.
Because he's very good at controlling people and mowing them down. I think Meerschaert's going to be too comfortable being taken down and fighting off his back, and I think Fabinski might just beat smush him into the canvas for 3 rounds.
Tough spot for Gerald, man. We pretty much know he can't hang with that top 15. He's going
to make a great coach, though.
Yeah,
he will make a great coach because of all the experience that he's got, and he has got a lot of knowledge. He just doesn't. He's not forthright with his application. There you go.
Nice.
Whereas Fabinski's very forthright with his application.
Yeah,
you motherfucker are going down.
Yeah, he's a bit susceptible to a sub finish, isn't he?
He is a little bit. But
I think that's the point of interest of the fight, isn't it? Yeah. One's got some good subs, and one's a little bit susceptible to a sub finish.
And Meerschaert he's got to apply himself, otherwise the fight will just be taken away from him. Fabinski will just maul him.
Yeah.
Okay, are we on to main card yet?
Cortez and Kish.
Oh yeah, of course. What are you saying? Cortez, when I interviewed her in Fight Island, she had fake eyelashes and she had gemstones glued onto her teeth. Yeah, like bedazzled.
Right.
Seemed like such an odd, especially the fake lashes. You'd think that'd be weird during a fight. I've never fought in fake lashes.
As in the fight.
Yeah. When I interviewed her right after.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was odd.
That is odd. I might change my pick.
Because of the fake eyelashes.
That's not appropriate.
What about if it was just one eye like Clockwork Orange?
Well, that's all right.
Okay.
Just for history's sake. Justine's tough, isn't she? She's very tough. She's got some good experience.
Yeah.
I think Cortez just might be a bit much for her all over, really. I think everywhere she's just sort of a bit, it's just a bit much for her.
She's a little bit clunky as Justine. She's...
Yeah, just not natural, no real flow, no rhythm.
No.
I don't think it's going to go too well for her.
No, coming off that rear naked choke loss to Mazzo as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't right now. I just can't really see past Cortez really.
No. She is good. She's a smart fighter. She applies her skills well. She's on a roll as well. I mean, she's coming off decision wins, but she has got chokes on her record. Rear naked choke and good ground and pound finish as well. I remember watching some of her Invicta fights before. Erin Blanchfield, I remember watching that. And she's, she had to fight a bit in that one. She had to come through a bit of roughness in the first round. So it's not like she can't dig deep. So anything that Kish brings to the table as far as heart is concerned, I think she'll get that matched. And I think you're right. I think Cortez is just a bit technically better.
Yeah.
So you're going with Cortez, are you?
Yeah, Cortez, yeah.
Come on, let's get into the main card then. Arlovsky against Chase Sherman.
Man, when someone just looks like their name... Like, don't Chase Sherman just look like...
He looks like a Chase.
He looks like a Chase.
Yeah, he does. He looks like a Chase and he fights like a Sherman tank.
Yeah. Man, he's getting better.
He is getting better. He's a little bit ploddy, though, still.
Yeah.
And I do wonder whether...
He loves fighting.
He does.
He loves fighting.
He does. But you've got to be smart and love fighting if you're fighting Andrei Arlovsky. Or you've got to have wicked knockout power. Because, like, Arlovsky's always underestimated. I mean, it's 30-20 is his record now. But then, like, you go back and watch him fight Tanner Bosa and Philip Lins.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you go, Andrei Arlovsky.
Yeah. Like, remember that name.
Yeah.
He is a bloody legend, isn't he?
He is. I mean, obviously, Aspinall ran through him, but that's what you would expect from Aspinall at this stage of his career. And
I think this is good for Andre.
I think it's a good fight for him.
Because I think Chase is going to come at him, all guns blazing,
like
a Sherman tank.
He does slow down as well.
Yeah, and he could get picked apart.
Yeah.
But I do think Chase is... I watched his last fight and I watched 3 or 4 from a while ago, and he's much improved. Knees, kicks, elbows. Like, he just seems to have added a load of stuff to his game.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see him mauling Andre up against the fence with elbows and knees. Maybe Andre will take it down. I mean, he's got good submissions. He's got good ankle locks. Like, I'd get on one of those Chase Sherman ankle locks, and I'll sort of tell you something else as well. Sherman, when he can, wears anklets, tie anklets, which will make the grip easier on the ankle locks.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
There you go.
He's only 31, man, Sherman. He's got some...
but he don't fight like he's 31, does he? He fights like one of the old veterans of the division.
Well, he's had a few.
He has.
But he was in bare knuckle. He lost to Jerry Beltran, didn't he?
Yeah. I just remember some of the wars he's been in the UFC. You know what I mean? Like, he had some wars in the UFC. Who was it? Was it Rashad Coulter? And it was. They had an absolute slugfest, and Coulter ended up knocking him out. He's very powerful, isn't he? But he's not. He ended up knocking Coulter out with an elbow. He's not sharp. Do you know what I mean? He's got loads and loads of mechanical power, but he's not like crisp, is he at all? Not really. Not really. He's a bit like a big kid. You know what I mean? He's a bit like a big teenager. He's big kid that would knock your head off. Maybe we're underestimating him. He might be too much for Andrei Arlovsky at this stage, but I always romanticize Arlovsky a little bit because of who he is and who he was and what he's what he has been capable of in the past. I think he might get beaten up against the fence. You reckon? Yeah, I do. Is it small? It is the smaller octagon as well. Isn't it? It's the Apex again. Yeah, I think he might get beaten up against the fence, and like you say, that good. I'll be pulling for him emotionally. I'll be hoping he applies that footwork and that nice jab that he's got. And I think if he wants to level change and take this to the floor, I think he might be able to ground Sherman and beat him up a little bit there. This one's lightning. Abdul Razak Al Hassan against Jacob Malkoun. Yeah, isn't it? This is lightning. I mean, it was unfortunate for Malkoun coming in against Phil Hawes and getting starched so quickly. Because like his fights outside of the UFC, I know he's not had many. But his fights outside the UFC, he's got some power in his hands, and he does. You know what I mean? He likes to mix it up, but then against Al Hassan, he's got that scary one punch knockout power as well. You've got to wonder whether he's going to be fretting a little bit coming into this one because of what happened in his last fight. I mean, that's just the worst start. It's just your worst start to the promotion, isn't it? Yeah. But, and Phil Hawes can do that, can't he? Like, obviously he has... He's Whittaker's teammate, isn't he? Yeah, he is. Malcolm's Whittaker's teammate. Oh, okay, yeah, right. That's why he's on the card with him. That makes sense. Sorry, I interrupted you there. Oh, there you go. 1-1. It's a draw. There's not a lot on him. Like, I've not seen that many fights. When I watched him fight an Aussie fight card from 2017. I wasn't that impressed. No. That impressed, really. I think from the outset, I just think Al Hassan's, from the historical fights of Al Hassan are much more impressive than Malkoun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's almost certainly got it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't find enough stuff watching Malkoun to be like, oh, okay, right, I see what you're going to do here.
I mean, if they're standing trade, if they're standing and trading, I think the smart thing for Al Hassan to do would be to clinch him and use his judo background. And I think if he can get the fight to the floor and beat Malkoun up for a little while there, then it's going to make his life on the feet a lot easier, because he does slow down as well, doesn't he, Al Hassan? Like, he does get to that stage where he's like, oh. Yeah. If he gets to that stage, then it's a coin toss, because they've both got good hands, but I think the judo background of Al Hassan could be problematic for Malkoun.
Wait, Al Hassan's knocked out Nico Price, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of an edge and experience. I think Al Hassan can win that. Coming
off 2 losses though.
Yeah.
It's got to be in his head. Yeah, a lot of first round finishes though. He is a dangerous person. But then, think back to that early fight against Akhmedov. It's just he just slows down. He can get drowned with pressure. And I don't know what Malkoun's like in the clinch, but I guarantee that he's been doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, because I know Robert Whittaker's been working on his ground game a lot. So he might be fairly slick down there, but I think you're right. I'm leaning towards Al Hassan as well.
Hassan, yeah, lock him in. Put him in.
Ricardo Ramos against Bill Algeo.
Ramos is one of those guys. I just want him to put it together.
Yeah,
he's got some really slick, beautifully constructed patterns and movements, but he's not quite. He's not quite there yet, is he?
Not quite.
But he's not far off. I don't really feel he's that far off.
He's only 25 as well.
Yeah.
He's only 25. He's got time. And that win over Garagori was impressive. Eduardo Garagori is he's like a tough old boy. At least he looks like it. I think he's that old actually. But he's a tough, durable individual. I think he was undefeated going into that one as well. He was. Garagori was undefeated, and he caught him in rear naked choke in the first round.
He fights very nice and relaxed and fluid. He's not, he's not tense at all.
And he got that spinning elbow against Ayman Zahabi as well. Of course,
that was horrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Ayman's come back from that. He won his next fight, didn't he?
He's a talented fighter, Ayman Zahabi.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah.
Which way are you going on this one?
Man, I think the problem with Ricardo is he makes some horrible decisions. He's got some beautiful techniques, but he makes some horrible decisions, doesn't he? Like throwing things a couple of times in a row and then getting caught on the third one. Like using his spinning attacks repeatedly, and then people are sort of reading him. But I think he's probably got enough. I think you don't know who he fights out of.
I don't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's his affiliation.
I think
Team Alpha Male he's listed out on Tapology.
Is he right? Yeah, right.
So I mean, he's going to be well prepared at least. Yeah. And they will have looked at his opponent and tried to minimise some of those risks. But like we're talking about, you do pick up a few losses when you're a risk taking fighter, but you do also manifest some finishes in that process as well.
He could create some excitement. The way he sort of is, he could create a lot of excitement around him with 2 or 3 wins on the bounce.
Yeah.
And that actually solidifies what I'm thinking. If he's at Team Alpha Male and he's in that environment and they got that coaching group around him, I think he's in good hands.
So you're going for Ramos, are you?
Yeah, Ramos. Yeah.
This guy's awesome. Luis Penne against Alex Munoz.
Yeah, 6'3" versus 5'9".
Yeah, 2 guys coming off a loss. Munoz is obviously Nasrat Hakparast,
what a debut.
Horrible debut. Really difficult. Came onto the Contender Series and fought Nick Newell, which was he was like 14-1. Nick Newell, really talented individual, difficult fighter as well to deal with. Great wrestling game, really good guillotines. Caught me with a clean guillotine when we were over at 10th Planet. Nick Newell
nice.
Yeah, real slick. And then went away and picked up another win over a guy called Troy Lamson and Trinity Kings, and then came back to the UFC against Hakparast, and now he's got Penne. Like he's not getting an easy run by any means, and he's not had many fights really.
I like his output though. He's got a good output, which I can see Penne getting swarmed a little bit by.
Yeah, it's just difficult to make Penne wilt though, isn't it? It's difficult to get to him and hurt him with anything clean. Like the majority of the time when people are beating him, it's because they're nullifying him, shutting him down. I mean, aside from the Karma Worthy guillotine, which, you know, I'm sure is weighing on his mind very heavily. But that's, you know, guillotines over a guy with a long neck like that and a big afro that can't be popped out of a small guillotine hole very easily. Yeah,
I mean, if Penne keeps him on the end of his jab, moves and frames and cuts him up against the fence, you know, he can do some damage. But my overall sort of feel is that Munoz will just have a bit more too much hustle for him. I kind of like Penne though. I almost want him to find who he is, find which fighter he is, you know, solidify that and just do that. He seems to be in a bit of flux, like he's sort of working too many things out.
Yeah, I mean, it might be him like working through some new techniques that his coaches are giving him, because he does seem to have a little bit. He's not exactly sure, like you said, which direction he's going in the fights.
Yeah.
But then, you know, with the pace that Munoz brings, he might not need to be making those decisions. He might just need to be responsive, and that, you know, that might work to his advantage. I like the fact that you're picking Munoz, though. That shows you've done your research. Co-main event.
I flipped the coin and it landed on it.
Co-main event: Drakkar Klose against Jeremy Stephens. This is mouth-watering. I always think Drakkar Klose has got so many more fights than he's had.
He's had that many cancelled. It probably boxes.
That's true.
So he's supposed to fight Jai.
Yeah.
Got cancelled.
Yeah.
Louis Penne stepped up, and then Drakkar's corner tested positive for COVID.
Oh, that was it.
Man, you'd feel bad as a cornerman.
You would.
I'd feel so bad getting that. Oh, after all of that, and your corner, it's not even you that test. There we go. Never mind.
Yeah, be gutted.
Explosive, times that right hand really nicely, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. But you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I find his striking a bit rudimentary compared to the top boys in that division.
Yeah, I think this is where it becomes weighted on Jeremy Stephens' side, because Drakkar Klose is like Jeremy Stephens a few years ago, when Jeremy Stephens came into the UFC and he was like. It's like let's go, you know what I mean? And everything was like every time he stepped into range, it was about unloading as much as possible. There was a lot of emotion coming through, which as he's developed into his game and matured, he started to manage that much better. And now obviously
you can't fight that forever, can you?
You can't. No,
it's exhausting.
Especially when, you know, like Jeremy Stephens trains alongside Dom Cruz, doesn't he? So he's, you know, you can imagine. Like, I remember the influence that Dom Cruz had on Ross when he was there as well. I think that there's been a lot of positivity gained by being in that gym with those guys, but specifically watching other fighters and how they create success in the octagon.
Yeah,
because he's a bit of a Mike Perry. I mean, that's a good comparison. Like, Mike Perry is in a Jeremy Stephens kind of situation. Maybe even Mike Perry would do well to go over to Alliance. They need all the physical attributes, the raw aggression, the desire to throw heavy hands. It just needs to be managed and channeled a bit, which is exactly what he's got at Alliance. And I think that understanding of how to apply what he's got instead of just trying to apply it best he can. I think that's the difference in this fight for me, with the fact
just
that
Drakkar streamline Klose, a bit. And
like he'll think calf kick when Drakkar Klose will think, I'm going to try and take your head off, and that calf kick, and then he puts the rest of his game together.
Then the head's there to be took off. It's weird. They're only a year apart, but they're so vastly different in terms of experience. You can't believe they're a year apart, can you?
No, I won't be able to. But that's what I said. Like, when I think of Drakkar Klose, I always imagine him to have had more fights than he has.
But I thought this was young buck versus old buck, like changing the guard thing until I looked into it.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, when he 28 and 18 for Jeremy Stephens, it's a bit like how did you manage this camp? Like, are you battle hardened or are you battle fatigued?
That's a good point.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we've talked about this a lot, and you talk about it in team sports as well in terms of pre-seasons. Is like, I can get you to the game fresh, but we won't have done enough work. I can beast you, but you're not going to be fresh enough to play and compete at the right level. And the same thing in camp, right? Is you've constantly got that balance of knowing you need to do X amount of work, but if I degrade your freshness too much and you can't come back up, then you're going to perform down here. When we could drop this a little bit, and then you're going to perform at your best.
Yeah.
I mean that's basically my job in a 30-second in 30-second audio.
At least
piece.
we know what you're doing now.
But yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But that's it.
It's a good point.
I think if they,
but then you think at that
so
point,
much experience. He's
Exactly.
been there. He's seen all of the pictures he needs to see. How much do you need to do?
Exactly, and that would be my thought. Would be he's found that stage. He's got to that stage already in his career now. Like he's turned that corner where he understands how to put himself through a training camp and not take too much out of the tank. I mean, at this streak that he's on, he's very unfortunate, but I still feel like he's having good performances in these fights. I mean, he lost to Calvin Case. That was a beautifully timed elbow. He just walked onto that. Like he's losing to Aldo, body punch to Aldo, and and the whole thing with the eye poke against Rodriquez was
Aldo can throw a body punch.
Can he? Hell yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's a good. It's a really big opportunity for Drakkar Klose, who has the possibility of adding a name like Jeremy Stephens to his record, who's maybe not the Jeremy Stephens he was of 2 years ago.
It will still say Jeremy Stephens on your record.
Say Jeremy Stephens.
Yeah.
And it will still probably be a war, and Drakkar Klose might have the intensity and
he's probably got a bit more pop.
Yeah.
Probably got a bit more pop
maybe especially
than Stephens
at
the minute, yeah.
I mean, Stephens throws from right back behind him. I think it's a barn burner. I think that's why they put it in co-main event. Absolutely. Which way are you going?
Shit. I think I want to go Jeremy Stephens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. How long we got?
A little while, not too long. We're good though.
Yeah, so what do you think?
I actually think Jeremy Stephens might be able to manage this fight, and he might be able to catch Drakkar Klose being a little overzealous.
I've not been blown away by Klose, right?
Yeah.
I've not been like, watch out.
I don't necessarily see Jeremy Stephens hurting him to stop him with strikes, but I could see him hurting him and clamping onto a neck, a guillotine or something like that. But I mean, Drakkar Klose is incredibly difficult to stop, aside from that most recent one. He is a very tough individual. He takes a shot very well. He's braced to take a shot very well a lot of the time. But I do think if Jeremy Stephens is able to catch him and make him a bit vulnerable, might be able to jump.
Doing all right against Dariush, until he got caught. Like he was landing.
But that's what I mean. He does get a bit overzealous and a bit excitable, which Jeremy Stephens used to, and you might be able to see that quality in him. Yeah. I'm leaning slightly towards Jeremy Stephens, but I expect that to be one of the fights of the night for sure.
This is the fight of the night. This is the fight of the night. Man, I love both of these. Love them. I've met Rob a couple of times. I can't even remember what year it was. I did a guest coaching spot on Tough Australia versus UK, and he was around there. We took some of the Queensland Reds boys down, and it was funny. So it was like obviously the UK versus Australia, but I was at the Reds, so brought all the Australian boys down and hung out with the UK team, and all the Australian Tough team were like, what's going on? We're like, that's the way it is. We're taking over. Met him a couple of times there, seen him in and around Brisbane. Just the nicest dude in the world, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I just have the utmost respect for him as a martial artist.
Yeah.
Like, for real. Crazy, like stepping in there with Yol the way he did a couple of times. Utmost respect.
Yeah. Good dude. Had a really interesting conversation with him before the Darren Till fight, because he'd been out for a little while after the Adesanya fight and that whole, not sure whether he wants to do it anymore and not loving it anymore. And it, similar to what you were talking about with Jeremy Stephens, like leaving it in the gym.
Yeah.
And he felt that like he would train every day.
Yeah.
And he would just like every day was right. I'm like, today's like, we're going to push. And
again.
Yeah.
Pushing again, are we?
Yeah. And I think, the thing is, because he was so well conditioned and young enough to do it, he was doing it. And I think it got to the stage where, especially against Yoel Romero, when he, the wear and tear that he picked up in those fights was then starting to play into his training camps. And that's got to be discouraging, especially when you're rehabbing and then you're rehabbing again.
Yeah.
And then you've got Adesanya on the rise, and everyone's celebrating him like the next best thing, and you're the champ. Psychologically,
that
must have been.
That was a really weird period, wasn't it?
Really weird.
Yeah,
I did feel for him coming in for that one, because it was almost like Adesanya was defending his belt against Whittaker, and not the other way around. I mean, I know he was the interim champ, but it's not the same thing, is it? It's like it was like, yeah,
that was tight. I mean, like I know how that finished, but that's a good fight. That's a great fight.
He just, but what I think what backfired for him was the fact that he come off 2 fights with Romero, who's like, he does all the sprinting forward.
Opposite, innit?
Opposite kind of fight.
It was almost like he became,
It was like he became Yo Romero against Adesanya, and was charging forward and being reckless. And it was, he acknowledges it wasn't a good performance from him. And, he took some time out. He got into video gaming quite heavily, from what I understand as well.
Really?
And just enjoyed himself, just enjoyed his life. He was talking about a sand dune run that he was doing. And that was the point where he was like, no, not anymore. No. I'm having a break.
I think he lives on the Gold Coast. I've seen him on the Gold Coast a couple of times. I'm not sure if that's where he lives or not. But I love him. I mean, mate, for the number 8th ranked fighter with 2 wins and 3 losses in the last 5 to get a shot at the number 1 contender is,
it's fortunate.
Fortunate or testament to KG. I'm not sure which, but we've spoke about it before on the podcast. Kelvin is just he's just the enigma, isn't he? He's just, you just know he's a good dude. He fights hard. He's tough. He's clearly skilled. He's got that X factor timing that seems to disrupt people's flow and rhythm. And
he kind of hangs back a little bit on his rear leg.
Yeah,
kind of sits down, so it looks a bit casual, and then he's waiting with counter punches as you come in. I think we might see some grappling in this fight.
Yeah.
I think one of these guys is coming in with a grappling heavy game plan. That wouldn't surprise me if it's Whittaker,
Right, okay.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think Whittaker's going to feel like he can handle the stand-up of Gastelum, and there'll be opportunities, especially to land his kicks. He's going to be utilising his kicks quite a bit in this fight, but I also think he's going to feel like he's the bigger, better conditioned fighter, and he's going to try and use that against Gastelum.
Batter him with the leg kicks, couldn't he?
Could. It's because he's so flat-footed, Gastelum is. Smash that lead leg up a little bit.
He doesn't even pretend he's not flat-footed, does he? He's just like, I am. What?
Yeah.
What? They're both tough as old boots as well. This could be one for the ages.
Yeah.
And Rob puts on big. They both put on big fights, don't they? They're both going to feature in a top 50 fights.
It's flying under the radar as well, isn't it? Given the fact that next weekend is such a big one.
Next weekend's crazy now.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
What have you thought to Whittaker since the Adesanya fight? Like against Till and Cannonier? I mean, the Cannonier performance was a far clearer one. Darren Till got hurt in the first round, but then kind of started to,
rallied,
he ran away with it after that point. But see, that for me was more down to him taking the initiative and turning it on Darren Till, and Darren Till not being a high volume fighter anyway. And Jared Cannonier, he just couldn't keep up with him. But I think Gastelum's got the ability to read that striking and that footwork of Whittaker. Like, because Gastelum's a good counter puncher, and Whittaker does sometimes, he travels forward with his face when he's throwing his hook.
Yeah,
and it's I remember the knockout against Brad Tavares. He threw a front kick, landed, and then looped, and it's like he doesn't turn his body. He keeps his head square and his shoulders quite square, and he turns the punch over and just catches people on the chin. And I think Gastelum might be looking at slipping off the centre line and countering him down the pipe, because that's where Gastelum's good. He's got that kind of lazy, like, slip and counter boxing style. So if he's patient and he hangs back, he'll get his lead leg eaten up though. So
I thought Rob is too sharp. But he sort of is too sharp. He's sort of too sharp in some ways, but then Kelvin is sharp in the counter striking. So he just might pick him a couple of times, and then that's all he needs really.
And they've both got short reaches. I mean, Gastelum, according to UFC stats, he's 5'9" with a 71-inch reach, and Whittaker's 6 foot with a 73-inch reach. I mean, they're both fairly short reaches.
Yeah.
But I do feel like Gastelum makes the most of his. I do feel like he's very good at utilising the full extent of his reach. I mean, we talked about Vettori on the opposite end of the spectrum. He kind of underthrows his left, whereas Gastelum almost overthrows it a little bit. That punch he caught Bisping with it was a perfect setup. Really nice. And I wonder whether that like little sideways movements would be problematic for Whittaker if Whittaker's the one taking the initiative and attacking. Gastelum might. I'm excited for it. Which way you
Where
going?
do you go? Probably Rob.
Yeah.
Probably Rob.
Gastelum's got a higher takedown average than Whittaker, but Whittaker's takedown defense is 84%. And I think the UFC record is 95, so he's right up there. Average is about 60, I think.
He's bloody good. He's good, isn't he?
He is great.
He's very good. Yeah, I want to go probably Rob.
Oh yeah, Whittaker. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Cool. Right.
Nice. Another one in the bag.
I'll get this turned off then before we run out of memory cards.
Before we go, xbrain.co.uk. Drop in Full Reptile at the checkout and you'll get 10%.
Yeah. Yoga Frog.
And Yoga Frog.
And a little tiny mini Full Reptile cup. I moved that through here so people can appreciate it. Little espresso cup.
Espresso.
Or a mug for small people.
Yeah.
Because we've sent a couple out to kids. I got a little photo of Lowe's and Beto's little girl, Beto's little girl, and they're all sitting there drinking their mugs, and she's got a little tiny one. So we wick them.
Love it. Perfect.
Tin mugs for kids.
There you go.
Cool. All right.
Easy.
Nice one. Thanks for watching Outlaw Picks podcast. Catch you next time.
See you next time.